My beloved child, pause for just a moment, because there are seasons when silence speaks louder than words, and this may be one of those moments. You may believe nothing is changing simply because you cannot see movement with your own eyes, yet beneath the surface, hearts often travel farther than footsteps ever could. There is a quiet story unfolding beyond your sight, and every passing day is adding another page to it. Don't skip. Because something important is waiting for you, and it cannot be understood by rushing ahead. There is someone whose thoughts keep returning to you in the most unexpected moments. Not because everything was perfect, but because your absence has created questions that refuse to disappear. They replay old conversations, revisit forgotten smiles, and wonder whether silence truly means the end, or whether it is simply the space before something meaningful begins again. Strange how the quietest moments can become the loudest inside a person's heart. What makes this season different is not what is being said. It is what is no longer being hidden. Every day that passes without hearing from you gently changes the way they see everything that once felt ordinary. The memories they ignored now seem brighter. The little details they overlooked suddenly carry unexpected meaning. Even the smallest reminder has the power to stop them for a moment and ask themselves why your presence still feels so close, even from far away. Stay till the end, because there is another layer to this that has not fully revealed itself yet. Sometimes people expect dramatic signs to know what truly matters, but life often works in quieter ways. Real change begins with reflection. Reflection becomes understanding. Understanding slowly becomes courage. And courage has a remarkable way of leading someone toward decisions they never imagined they would make. Perhaps you have wondered why everything feels so still. Perhaps you questioned whether your silence has gone unnoticed. Yet not every silence creates distance. Sometimes it creates clarity. It gives people room to hear the truth they kept interrupting with noise. It allows emotions to settle until they can no longer be ignored. What once felt confusing slowly becomes impossible to misunderstand. There is a reason your heart has been asked to remain patient. Not because waiting is easy, but because some answers lose their beauty when they arrive before they are ready. Every meaningful connection carries moments where nothing appears to happen, while everything important is quietly taking shape beneath the surface. Those hidden moments are often where the strongest foundations are built. Soon, an unexpected realization will rise inside someone who has been trying to understand their own heart. It will not come through pressure. It will not arrive through perfect timing. It will come through a simple moment that feels ordinary to everyone else, yet unforgettable to them. That single realization may inspire them to take a step they never believed they were capable of taking. And as that moment draws closer, another question quietly begins to form. What happens when silence is no longer enough, and the heart finally decides it cannot keep waiting to be heard? There are moments when the heart reaches a point where thinking is no longer enough. It keeps searching for one more reason to stay quiet, yet every answer only leads back to the same place, you. That is where this story begins to change. Not with a loud announcement, but with a quiet decision that grows stronger each passing day, almost without them realizing it. While the world around them continues as usual, something inside refuses to move on. They have tried distracting themselves with routines, conversations, and busy days, yet your memory keeps finding its way back into the smallest moments. A familiar song. A familiar place. A sentence that reminds them of something only the two of you would understand. Each reminder gently whispers that unfinished stories have a way of asking for another chapter. Don't skip. Because this next part is where everything begins to feel different. Your silence has not only made them think about what was lost. It has made them question who they became after losing your presence. That question is quietly reshaping their choices. They are beginning to notice the habits they once defended, the words they wish they had spoken differently, and the opportunities they allowed to pass without realizing their value. Growth often begins when someone finally stops blaming circumstances and starts listening to their own heart. What surprises them most is that they can no longer pretend everything feels normal. They smile at the right moments. They complete their responsibilities. They continue moving through each day. Yet beneath all of that is a quiet hope they have not shared with anyone. A hope that somehow, in some unexpected way, your paths have not reached their final page. Stay till the end. Because something important is waiting for you. There is another detail that has remained hidden until now. They have started imagining conversations that have never happened. They think about what they would say if they had one honest moment with you. They replay different versions of that meeting again and again, changing a sentence here, adding honesty there, wishing they could replace silence with understanding. That is not something people do when someone no longer matters. It is something they do when their heart is preparing for courage. And courage rarely arrives all at once. It grows quietly. One realization becomes another. One memory opens the door to the next. Then suddenly, what once seemed impossible begins to feel necessary. The remarkable part is this: they are no longer waiting for life to magically create the perfect opportunity. Deep inside, they are beginning to understand that if they truly want peace, they may have to become the one who takes the first unexpected step. That thought has stayed with them longer than they expected. It follows them into quiet evenings and early mornings, refusing to disappear. Yet there is still one final hesitation standing between intention and action. A single unanswered question continues echoing in their heart, and until they find the courage to answer it, everything remains suspended in this delicate silence. What they choose to do with that question may become the moment that changes everything next. Not every turning point announces itself with noise. Sometimes it arrives disguised as an ordinary afternoon, when nothing seems unusual, yet a single thought refuses to leave. That is where your story quietly moves now. While you have been living your own days, believing the silence has settled into permanence, another heart has been reaching a place where staying quiet no longer feels possible. There is an invisible line people cross when memories stop being memories and begin asking for action. They have reached that line more than once, only to step back at the last second. They have picked up their phone, paused, smiled to themselves, and then placed it back down. They have started writing words they never sent. They have imagined hearing your voice again, wondering whether it would still feel as familiar as it does inside their thoughts. Every unfinished attempt has only made the next one stronger. Stay a little longer, because something important is waiting for you. The surprising part is not that they miss you. The surprising part is how deeply your silence has revealed what your presence truly meant. Sometimes the greatest answers arrive only after the conversation has stopped. They are beginning to understand that certain connections cannot be measured by time apart. Instead, they are revealed by how impossible it becomes to forget the peace one person brought into another's life. Their closest moments of reflection have become unexpectedly honest. No audience. No explanations. Just quiet questions that only the heart can answer. What if I waited too long? What if they still remember? What if one sincere conversation could change everything? Those questions return again and again, never demanding attention, yet never disappearing either. Don't skip, because the next realization changes the direction of everything. Something within them has shifted. Instead of hoping circumstances will somehow bring you together, they have started considering what they themselves can do. That difference may seem small, but it changes everything. Hope without movement stays a dream. Hope joined with courage becomes a decision. And every meaningful decision begins with one simple choice: to stop hiding behind uncertainty. Even so, they are not rushing. They want the next step to carry honesty instead of impulse. They want their words to reflect who they have become, not who they used to be. Quiet growth has been happening where nobody could see it. Piece by piece, they have been letting go of pride, replacing assumptions with understanding, and discovering that genuine connections are never strengthened by pretending not to care. Perhaps this explains why your own journey has felt slower than expected. Some stories require both hearts to grow before the next chapter can truly begin. If one changes while the other remains the same, the lesson stays unfinished. But when both have been quietly transformed, even a simple moment can carry extraordinary meaning. Now a new feeling has begun following them wherever they go. It is no longer just hope. It is anticipation. The sense that delaying any longer may only leave more words unspoken than necessary. That feeling grows a little stronger each sunrise, a little clearer each evening, until it becomes impossible to ignore. And somewhere very close, a moment neither of you planned is beginning to take shape. A moment that may finally answer the question both hearts have been carrying in silence. Have you ever noticed how life quietly arranges certain moments without asking for permission? A familiar place suddenly comes to mind. A forgotten memory returns with surprising clarity. A name echoes in the heart for no obvious reason. What seems like coincidence often becomes the beginning of a chapter nobody expected. That quiet rhythm has already begun, even if neither of you fully realizes it yet. The silence between you has become more than an empty space. It has become a mirror. Every day, it reflects another truth back to them. They no longer see your absence as something to simply accept. They see it as something that deserves honesty. The questions they once pushed aside have become impossible to ignore, and with every answer they discover, one feeling grows stronger than the last: they do not want this story to remain unfinished. Stay till the end. Because the next realization carries more meaning than it first appears. There was a time when they believed waiting would somehow solve everything. They thought enough time would make emotions fade, soften memories, and close the door without effort. Instead, the opposite happened. Time didn't erase what they felt. It refined it. It removed confusion and left behind something quieter, steadier, and far more genuine than they expected. That realization has changed the way they move through each day. They notice little things that once escaped their attention. Kindness reminds them of you. Patience reminds them of you. Even moments of laughter unexpectedly lead them back to thoughts they believed had disappeared. It isn't because they are trapped in the past. It is because your presence became part of how they learned to recognize what truly matters. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you. Now something unexpected is happening inside them. They are beginning to imagine what courage actually looks like. Not dramatic gestures. Not perfect words. Just one sincere step. One honest conversation. One moment where pretending finally ends. That possibility no longer feels distant. It feels closer than ever before. Yet before they move, they pause one last time. They ask themselves a simple question. If this opportunity appeared today, would I let fear speak again, or would I finally speak from my heart? They don't know the full answer yet, but for the first time, fear is no longer the loudest voice. Hope is. Perhaps that is why this season has felt so unusual. While nothing obvious seemed to be changing, everything essential was. Growth was taking place where nobody could applaud it. Healing was happening without announcement. Understanding was arriving without noise. The strongest transformations often happen in complete silence before the world ever notices them. And now, the distance between thought and action is becoming smaller than either of you could have imagined. The moment they have replayed countless times is no longer living only in their imagination. It is beginning to feel possible, real, close enough to reach. Because very soon, they may stop asking themselves whether they should do something, and begin asking only one question instead, when there comes a quiet instant when the heart grows tired of waiting for perfect conditions. It stops searching for flawless timing and starts searching for truth instead. That instant has been drawing closer with every passing day, and now it feels as though an invisible door is slowly opening. They can sense it, even if they cannot explain why. The silence that once felt safe now feels unfinished, as though it is gently asking to become a conversation. For a long time, they believed they had more time than they actually did. Another week. Another month. Another chance somewhere in the future. But the heart has a remarkable way of reminding us that the moments which matter most rarely announce themselves in advance. They simply arrive, waiting for someone to be brave enough to recognize them. Don't skip, because this is where everything begins to shift in a way neither of you expected. They have started noticing something unusual. Every plan they make somehow circles back to one thought. Every quiet evening ends with the same unanswered feeling. Even when they convince themselves to focus elsewhere, your memory returns, not demanding attention, but gently inviting honesty. It no longer feels like coincidence. It feels like clarity. What surprises them most is not the depth of their feelings. It is the realization that your silence has revealed more than countless conversations ever could. It has shown them what life feels like without hearing your perspective, without sharing ordinary moments, without knowing how your day ended. Those little things, once taken for granted, have quietly become the things they miss the most. Stay with this moment a little longer, because something important is waiting for you. Now they find themselves imagining a completely different future than the one they accepted before. Instead of asking, "What if it's too late?" another question has quietly taken its place. What if one honest step is all that's been missing? That single thought has become impossible to ignore. It follows them through busy mornings, peaceful afternoons, and quiet nights, growing stronger every time they try to silence it. This is why the next choice may seem unexpected to everyone else. People on the outside will think it happened suddenly. They will never see the countless quiet moments that came before it, the reflection, the growth, the patience, the gentle lessons learned in silence. They will only witness the courage that finally rises to the surface. Perhaps you have sensed that something feels different lately, even if you couldn't explain it. Sometimes the heart notices change before the mind understands it. Sometimes peace arrives before answers do. And sometimes, just before two paths begin moving toward one another again, the world becomes strangely calm. The story has not been racing toward its next chapter. It has been preparing for it with care. Every unanswered question has shaped a stronger understanding. Every quiet day has built a deeper appreciation. Every moment of distance has revealed the true value of connection. And now, as another ordinary day quietly approaches, they are standing closer than ever to doing the one thing they promised themselves they would never do again. Not because they have lost control, but because they have finally found the courage to follow what has been true all along. The only mystery that remains is this. When that moment arrives, will it unfold exactly as they imagined, or will it become even more beautiful than either of you could have expected? Some stories become unforgettable because they refuse to follow the path anyone expected. Just when everything appears settled, a quiet realization changes the direction of every thought. That is exactly where this journey has arrived. The silence that once felt endless is no longer standing still. It is slowly transforming into purpose, and purpose has a remarkable way of finding its moment. There is something they have finally admitted to themselves: running from their feelings has become far more exhausting than facing them. For so long they believed distance would make everything easier. Instead, distance became the very thing that revealed what truly mattered. Every attempt to convince themselves otherwise only brought them back to the same quiet truth. Some connections do not fade because they were never built on passing emotions. They were built on something much deeper: understanding, respect, and the feeling of being genuinely seen. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you. Lately, they have started paying attention to small opportunities they would have ignored before. A familiar place no longer feels ordinary. A familiar date suddenly carries meaning. Even simple conversations seem to point them toward one thought they cannot leave behind. It feels as though life is quietly placing gentle reminders in front of them, not forcing anything, simply inviting them to notice what has been there all along. The remarkable part is that they are no longer asking whether you are worth reaching for. That answer has already settled in their heart. The question has changed completely. Now they wonder how to begin again with honesty, kindness, and humility. They want the next words they speak to carry truth instead of uncertainty. They want the next step to reflect the person they have become, not the fears they once carried. Don't skip, because this next realization may explain everything. Your silence has done something unexpected. It has given them space to recognize the difference between temporary emotions and lasting affection. Temporary emotions ask for attention in the moment. Lasting affection remains present even when nobody is watching, even when there are no conversations, no messages, and no certainty about tomorrow. That quiet realization has become impossible for them to ignore. Now, every sunrise seems to bring the same gentle reminder: if something precious is left waiting forever, it may never know how deeply it was valued. That thought doesn't create panic. It creates sincerity. It encourages them to stop hiding behind perfect timing and begin trusting honest intention instead. Perhaps this is why your own heart has felt unusually peaceful lately. Not because every answer has already arrived, but because something beneath the surface has been moving into place. Growth rarely announces itself. It simply prepares people until they are ready for the next chapter without even realizing how much they have changed. The distance between imagination and reality is becoming smaller with every passing day. What once existed only in quiet hopes is beginning to resemble a real possibility. The conversations they once rehearsed in silence no longer feel impossible. They feel closer than ever before, as though the right moment is patiently waiting just beyond the next ordinary day. And when that moment finally appears, it may not begin with a dramatic gesture at all. It may begin with one simple decision. A decision that opens a door both of you believed had quietly disappeared, revealing that this story has been moving toward its most meaningful chapter all along. Every journey reaches a moment when the waiting quietly gives way to understanding. This is that moment. Not because every question has already been answered, but because both hearts have been changed by everything they have walked through. The silence that once seemed confusing has fulfilled its purpose. It slowed everything down just enough for wisdom to grow where impatience once lived. If you look back now, you may notice something beautiful. Every pause carried a lesson. Every unanswered moment shaped greater compassion. Every day that felt ordinary was gently preparing both of you for a conversation that could only happen after growth had taken place. Nothing was wasted. Even the quietest chapters became part of the story that brought you here. Stay with these final moments. Because something important is waiting for you. The person who has been carrying your memory no longer sees reaching out as something reckless. They see it as something honest. They have learned that sincerity is never measured by perfect words. It is measured by the courage to speak with an open heart. That is the quiet change taking place within them now. They are no longer trying to protect themselves from every possible outcome. They simply want their truth to be known. And perhaps the most meaningful realization of all is this: your silence was never only about distance. It became an invitation for reflection. It reminded both of you that genuine connection cannot be built on assumptions. It grows through patience, understanding, and the willingness to value someone even when life becomes uncertain. Don't skip this final thought. Whatever happens next, let your heart remain steady. Real connections are never strengthened by rushing. They are strengthened by authenticity. If two people have truly learned from the journey, even the simplest conversation can carry extraordinary peace. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not a dramatic moment. Sometimes it is two people choosing honesty over fear, kindness over pride, and hope over hesitation. One day, you may look back on this season and realize it was never designed to keep you apart forever. It was designed to help both of you become the kind of people who could truly appreciate what was placed in front of you. That is why this chapter feels so meaningful. It is no longer about wondering what could happen. It is about recognizing how much both hearts have already grown. As this story gently comes to its close, remember one quiet truth that will always remain: what is genuine never needs to shout to be real. It reveals itself through consistent care, quiet courage, and the willingness to take one sincere step when the time is right. And if today leaves you with anything at all, let it be this gentle reminder: never underestimate the quiet work that hope can accomplish. Sometimes, while the world sees only silence, two hearts are learning exactly how to find each other again. The story ends here, but the peace, the growth, and the possibility of a beautiful new beginning are only just beginning.